All right, let's get out of here before 1 o'clock in the morning tonight. Good idea? You heard that too? All right, I'm calling this morning this meeting of the King George Board of Supervisors to order.
I'll call to order this meeting of the King George Board of Directors for the Service Authority.
Please stand for the invocation led by Supervisor Stroud, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here this evening, we ask that you join us and ask that you help guide us as we address the county's business. We're grateful for your presence and continuing involvement in our county to care for our people. We consider ourselves blessed to live in this country and county, and thank you for your saving grace and for the freedom we enjoy. We ask you for your continued wisdom, help in leading our county, and grant us victory over our enemies so that your people can prevail. We thank you for answering our prayers and for never failing to respond to our requests. We ask you to keep your hand on our citizens and employees, keep them safe, and help them prosper within your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to do that first. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Fish. So first off, we have a King George County proclamation. People here for that? All right. Whereas there are 70 million people of all ages with disabilities living in communities throughout the United States, and whereas there are more than 40 million Americans with disabilities are eligible to vote, and whereas there are 2,794, which is 10.4% of people with disabilities living in King George County, whereas the disability community has strong interest in policies and decisions at the local, state, and national levels that directly affect their lives, and whereas ensuring voting access for people with disabilities is essential to shaping public policies that truly reflect and address their needs. And whereas the Disability Resource Center of the Rappahannock area is joining Rev Up Virginia, which stands for Register, Educate, Vote. Use Your Power is a statewide effort to build the voting power of disability Virginians. And now therefore be it resolved that King George County, Virginia hereby proclaims the week of September 8th through 12th, 2025 shall be recognized as a National Disability Voter Registration Week in King George County, Virginia, adopted the second day of September 2025. By the board itself and by me, the chair, William S. Davis. Good. Is there anyone that we're presenting that to? Nope. Okay. So right now we're going to open up the floor for public comment. I'm a little bit loud, just a little bit. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person in order to afford everyone an opportunity to speak. Please provide your full name, the district in which you vote, so it can be properly included in the public record. Yeah, do I need to do that first? I don't have it on me. The resolution.
I'll move to adopt the resolution as presented.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. First up, we have the birthday guy, Pastor Davis.
Sorry I missed the last meeting. I was getting some arteries unclogged at the hospital, but I understand I missed a great meeting. But anyway, it's good to be here to the board. Thank you for allowing me the time to be here. And my name is Sherman Davis. I am voted in the Dalton district for the past 50 years anyway. But it's good to be here. God bless you. The Bible, the Word of God. Jesus said in John 16 and verse number 7, nevertheless, I tell you the truth. Truth is very important. In fact, it's very, very, very important. And Jesus said, I'm fixing to leave. I'm going back to heaven. I'm going to accomplish what the Father sent me to do, and I'm going back to heaven. But when I go, I'm going to send the Comforter, which is the Holy Spirit, and He will reveal to you all truth, and of sin because of unbelief, because they wouldn't believe. He says of righteousness because I go to the Father. In verse 11, he says of judgment because of the prince of this world has been judged. Now the Bible addresses one problem, and that problem is sin. The Bible has one enemy, and that enemy is Satan. And the Bible has one hero, and that hero, his name is Jesus. The Bible has one purpose, and that purpose is to glorify Lord Jesus Christ, glorify God. The Bible has one redemption plan. That plan is, of course, the bloody cross of Christ. The Bible has one teacher, and that teacher is the Holy Spirit. I can articulate to you and read you this Word of God, black words on white paper, but only the Holy Spirit of God can take and put that and write those words in your heart. The Bible has one way to heaven. That way to heaven is to believe, and the Bible has one way to hell. That way is not to believe, to reject the Word of God. And so there are things that we will never figure out intellectually. And John 12 tells us now it is the judgment of this world. Now is the judgment of this world. So when Christ went to the cross, all sin was judged on Calvary's cross, on Jesus Christ. Every sin that's ever been committed was judged. A couple of weeks ago, we had a man who shot some children in a school, shot up a school, I think wounded 17 or 18 other children. As bad as that was, that man does deserve to go to hell. We all know that. We can understand that. But the truth of the matter is that sin is not what sends him to hell. Committing suicide is not what sends him to hell. It's not believing according to the Word of God. It says, of sin because they believe not on me. One sin, Jesus said, will send a man to hell. That's unbelief. And so when you think about this righteousness, sin, and judgment, I'm running out of time already. Righteousness is in between judgment and sin. And so if we have righteousness that's ordained of God, then we are forgiven for our sin, one sin of unbelief, and all we have to do is, isn't that simple? Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Anna Marie. Don't forget to position the mic so we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Ana Maria Lobo. I live in Presidential H. I want to thank you for your service to the community. You are doing a great job fixing things and hopefully paying down the debt. I also wanted to thank you for hiring Mr. Dan Hamilton to be the general manager for the Service Authority. We need somebody to run it and see the things get fixed and control the water wells and see that the debt is paid down. I don't know if I misunderstood Mr. Collins' criticism of the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Rescue Service. It has been in my experience that these people go above and beyond what required. Many years ago, my husband and I hit a deer in Route 3. The deputy did everything possible to help us and even give a ride home. Another time, my car died late late in front of the courthouse, right here, and the deputy stayed with me until I could get my husband to come and get me. Also, Mr. Collins, you have an accident in front of the courthouse, and they did everything that they could to help you. I don't, I don't think you should be criticizing them for the job they're doing. I was disappointed that the last meeting went on for so long. I stayed until 11:30, long past my bedtime. But that was my choice. Also, many of you have small children and some of you still work. Please follow the rules and get along. I know that all you want is what the best for the county. Just like me, I love King George County and I want to keep it safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Shaw?
James Shaw, James Monroe District, no hat, quick. Thank you for the short agenda in balance to the last marathon session. We're thankful for a God of mercy, grace, and forgiveness. Use the extra 2.5 minutes wisely.
Thank you. Is anyone else that'd like to speak? Has there been any correspondence? Anyone online, sir? All right. So at this time, I will close the public comment and we'll open up the reports to members of the board. I'm going to start off with Mr. Stroud.
Thank you, sir. On August the 25th, I met with Green Energy Ventures and they discussed some of their plans to increase their buffers around the property to make it not as visible from the road. And on 29 August, I met with the Commissioner of Revenue, the County Administrator, and Supervisor Sullins to talk about the veterans taxes and the on property that the state changed the law so that veterans don't pay the property taxes. So it puts a burden on some counties more than others. So there's an initiative to get the state to come up with a funding to help the counties out that were harmed through that. So nobody's against the veterans, but it's the state made the change the law and it's impacts the counties. So with that, that's all I've got, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Bender?
Yes, thank you. One thing I got to chair my first meeting of GWRC, and what we had some presentations from our local military bases, and Quantico for AP Hill and our own Dahlgren. One of the things that I was quite surprised when Dahlgren brought up was that we've been told a lot about their want for the data centers to help with their mission, but what they're most concerned about is energy and having enough energy on the base. So that was quite surprising. They were very adamant about that. And so they have reached out to, I know myself and Chairman Davis, about having a meeting and chatting, because Mr. Lynch says, we haven't talked in a while, because previous we used to be invited quite a bit onto the base. So that'll be a great conversation to have. One other thing, and I know Arn is in the audience, on the next GWRC agenda will be a discussion about water supply in the Rappahannock River. So please come and attend that next meeting at the end of September. And that is all I have in my board report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Collins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little bit too close. The veterans relief is for 100% disabled veterans. It's not for every veteran. So you have to be classified as 100% disabled. And I'm not sure how many we have in King George. Do you know, Mr. Stroud, how many 100% disabled?
Ms. Puckett told me when I asked earlier this year, it's about, for King George, about $1 million.
Yeah, it's like 25 million for Stafford, and that's, a lot. But I thought when that law passed that it was for veterans for relief for property tax, and I brought my 214 and everything I could bring, and came into Ms. Puckett, and she said, "Are you disabled?" I said, "Well, some people would say I am, but not military." So I didn't get that relief. Mr. Buchanan, Mrs. Buchanan, it's good to see you in the audience this evening. Haven't seen you around in a long time. Thanks for coming. So I've been on this board 3 years and 8 months or 9 months or something like that. And I'm very passionate about what I do and what the people elected me to do. Sometimes my passion spills over into not being so pretty. And you witnessed that last meeting. I made 2 comments to our chairman that I apologize for. I hope you accept my apology, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, sir.
So even though I get feisty, which is kind of in my DNA, myself and Mr. Davis and the other board members love each other. And you probably never hear board members say they love each other, but we do. We're all working for the same goal. We're all working for the betterment of our county, the betterment of our citizens. You know, sometimes we have different ways of doing that, but we all have the same goal in mind. This data centers, if you all have been paying attention to the area news, not just the local news, but the area news, you see that data centers are getting a lot of pushback these days. One county wants to do, they made a commission in Stafford, went through it, and they want to redo a lot of their ordinances because now that they have approved data centers there, they find that they've had problems. Well, your King George board already determined there could be problems. So that's why there's been such a slow walk in King George, because we want to make sure everything is right. And the first one that came here there was more wrong than right. But the other data centers that have an interest here have listened to you, the citizens, has listened to the boards and their concerns. And the first data center was approved at the last meeting, which is going to be a wonderful data center down in Dahlgren. You won't see it, hear it, smell it. You won't have any cars. You'll get plenty of money for taxes, and they'll be a good neighbor, and they're going to support our schools. So that's the kind of thing that I think I can speak with the board when I say this board is looking for. But we do slow walk these folks because we want to make sure that everything is right. I mean, you see Spotsylvania's having problems. They opened the door, and now it's hard to go backwards once you go there. You know, Prince William and all them always having problems with data center because they're too close to neighborhoods. If you look going down Route 3, the folks down there don't want data centers next to their neighborhoods. And they really shouldn't be that close to neighborhoods. It doesn't make good sense for that. Out in Louisa, they approved one data center, but they don't want to approve the second data center, so it's off their thing. So I think you should congratulate members of the board for their slow walking and doing things right. We all meet with these other data centers and businesses that want to come in. We meet with Amazon, meet with Green Energy Ventures. We have in King George, we kind of have a red line of what we want and don't want. So if they can't provide it, we don't want it. But we do want business growth, but we want smart business growth in the right areas where the comprehensive plan says it should be. So I had met with many constituents during the last 30 days, but I don't think you really want to hear about all that. I usually meet with about 1 or 2 a day, generally. And then you have the other meetings where you go into the food line to get a 6-pack of beer, and by the time you leave, you need a 12-pack before you leave. But you always see folks on about, they tell you what's on their mind. I love it when they tell me what's on their mind so we can make the decisions. Fairview Beach Day was Saturday. It's where they have a big celebration at Fairview Beach. They have games and stuff for children. They have horseshoe, all the different competitions you can have, volleyball competitions, food and everything, and it was a nice time to be down there in Fairview. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Appreciate it. And my time.
Mr. Sullins.
Thank you, sir. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. As always, I appreciate y'all being involved. I appreciate the public comments. Ms. Lavelle, I've said it before jokingly that you're the team mom. I appreciate you. My mother would have said it differently, but you're right. Let's all get along and be happy. So as far as engagements that I've had this past week, I did get to join Mr. Stroud, Mr. Smolnick, and Ms. Puckett for the conversation on taxes. Thank you for that correction. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm still going to be paying property taxes. I'm not that disabled yet. So, oops, got off my report. All right. Okay, well, I apologize if I offended somebody, but anyway, I'm too healthy to enjoy that tax break. George Washington Regional Commission, got to go to that. I was surprised to learn that Big Navy provided some of the funding to purchase Lake Caledon and get it put into the the state park system. So that was a nice thing to hear. Other things that came out of that, we've heard rumors in the past about potential for nuclear power plants in the area. The base, Dahlgren, and the base at Quantico have both looked at that and applied for it. They both got shot down in the first round. They're still looking at it. It will be strictly for power on the base, is my understanding. But if they get it at all, it's at least 10 years out. So if you're anti-nuke, breathe a sigh of relief. If you're looking for, relief and the amount of power that we have in the county, you're gonna have to hold your breath a little bit longer. Let's see. Ms. Bender already touched on the fact that the base was a little bit concerned with us not approving the data center. I'm sorry, not approving data centers, but not necessarily approving the solar farm, the Gibson solar farm, to go along with it, because they definitely need more power on the base. That was a good meeting, though. That one actually kept my attention better than some. Got to meet with a resident to discuss funding for fire and emergency services. That was a good meeting, and also met with Mr. Frank, the at-large, my counterpart, the at-large school board member, talking about some future stuff. One thing for, I guess this is for Dan. I got a call today from a very nice lady. She was saying that this is kind of something we talked about, I think, at the last meeting. But she saw today, as she was driving down Dahlgren Road, near the intersection of Dahlgren Road and Indiantown, there's an older septic truck that was, she couldn't tell if it was pulling water out of the creek or if it was dumping stuff into the creek. It was around 9:30, give or take, this morning. And she just wanted to bring that to our attention. And she asked, who can she call for that? And I was like, well, I mean, you're welcome to text me and I'll get the information over to the right people, but
Creek was it?
she just said a small creek over there near Indiantown and Dahlgren Road.
I said last week I saw someone in Washington Mill doing the same thing.
Yep.
I saw
same
someone,
thing.
I mentioned at last board meeting that I saw someone pulling water out of one of the creeks.
And that's all I've got. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Sorry for cutting you off.
I can address that issue that
Okay.
they're drawing the water because they're well drillers in the area, and they go to these areas, Indiantown, Washington Mill, Pine Hill, and draw water out so they have them for the well drill. We've stopped and ID'd several of them. Today, he was able to get away before we were able to catch up to him. But that's what they're doing. They're not putting anything in the creeks. They're drawing water out to the wells.
Do they have permits?
They don't need permits. We do encourage them not to be in the road now, but there's nothing to permit or not permit to do it.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, do you think, like, if I wanted to get water at my farm, I could go up there and get it out of the creek?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know. Could we, Mr. Chairman, could we ask Mr. Smolnick to look into that? Because This seems odd, doesn't it?
It's just that's something we don't want to be abused. You good, Mr. Sullins? All right, I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. I've done a lot this past couple weeks. I'm not going to get into a lot of that. I did get a few emails and people concerned about some things that I talked about last January when I brought up data centers, and my concern was water, and my concern is power, and the fact that Loudon and how they're struggling with power issues and all that. And what people at King George can understand is if we don't build one data center, your power is going to go up. And your power is going to go up because Loudon's building them, Manassas is building them, and they're, like what 70% of data centers are in the state of Virginia. So your power is going to go up whether you get a data center here or not. You're just not getting any rewards from it. You're just not making any revenue. So having one in King George isn't going to increase you anymore. It's not like, okay, there's one in King George now their power rates go up. It's already happening, right? That's how it's getting passed on to us, which is why we become such sticklers when dealing with data centers, because we kind of see the end, because so many people have made mistakes, and through their mistakes, we have to pay attention, to where there's noise ordinances, where there was water issues, and all these other items and power issues that come up. So I just want to make that clear that just having one here isn't what's driving it. It's going to happen anyway. I have talked many times about how I believe on the state level there should be a revenue sharing agreement with other counties who decide to put up 20 data centers in their area, 10 data centers in their area, because it's Virginia land, it's Virginia water that they're using. But we've already said we won't let people use water out of the ground or out of the river to cool. It's a no-brainer for us. It's the beginning of negotiations with any firm, is you're going to find all other alternatives to cool off your stuff besides water, which is a precious resource, especially in the state of Virginia, and with the state of our aquifers right now. But I just wanted to make that clear that power is going to go up as they build. They're going to, just like every other business, they're going to pass it on to you. It's a shame, but the billionaires will make their money and you'll get stuck with the bill. It's just how it works a lot. Anyway, thank you for being here at this time. You got anything else, Ms. Bender? Okay. All right, so this time I will close report to members of the board, and we will move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion properly second. Is there any further discussion? By roll call, Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
Aye.
Mr. Sullins?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Mr. Giles, do you have anything to say? I think you're our only constitutional officer here tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm here to respectfully request a public hearing to amend Article 2 of the King George County Ordinance, which is the animal control county pound specifically regarding the language in Section 3-22 and the monetary amounts in 3-28. First, I'd like to address the wording. As it stands, the ordinance reads Sheriff's Department. I believe this language should be revised to more clearly reflect that we are an office, not a department. I propose that the wording be changed to Sheriff's Office, any place in the ordinance that reads Sheriff's Department. Secondly, regarding the amount stated in 3-28, redemption or other dispositions of impounded animals, specifically subsection B4 and section C 1, 2, and 3 in the ordinance. Section 3-28, subsection B4 currently specifies payment of boarding fee of $5 per day. I propose that this subsection be removed, as it seems to be a repeat of section 3-28, subsection C1. In section 3-28C1, owner fee to retrieve impounded dogs or cats, $10 for the first day, $5 for an additional day. I'm proposing that the amount be raised to $20 on the first day and $10 for each additional day. The adjustment is necessary due to the increase in supplies needed to care for the impounded animal. Section 3-28C2, surrender fee for a dog or a cat, $5 if they surrender them at the pound, which is what it is now, so that can stay. And it was $10 as the residents owners. I'm proposing the amount be raised to $20 to go to the residents and pick the animal up. This increase is necessary due to the increased cost of gas and to care for the surrendered animal. Section 3-28.3, adoption fee for a dog or cat. Cats is $10. I'm proposing the amount be raised to $25. This increase is due to the cost of spaying and neutering that the shelter does provide once the animal becomes property of the county. Now, these next ones I'd like to add into this because it's not being recognized. I would like to add a section 4, Virginia Code 3-2 6579 authorizes the county to make a fee of a deposit for anybody that comes and adopts an animal that is unaltered. So I would like for the reading to read a mandatory $50 cash deposit for all unaltered animals that are adopted, and then to be returned upon the proof of them spaying and neutering. So in other words, they come and adopt an animal for $25. They put a $50 deposit fee down. They go out, they get the dog or cat spayed or neutered, and then come back and show the receipt, and then they would get the $50 back. I'd also like to add another section 5, which per the Virginia Code, section 3.2-655, 6522, section E, quarantine a $10 per day, not to exceed 10 days. That would be if we suspect that maybe the homeowner was bitten by the dog and the dog may have rabies, or the dog has had contact with a rabid animal. So they don't feel comfortable quarantining the dog, so we would quarantine it at the pound for $10 a day, not to exceed 10 days for the code section. So those are the changes I would like to see. So I appreciate your consideration in scheduling the public hearing on these proposed changes to the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Giles. You have any questions? Mr. Collins?
No, Mr. Chairman, I do have a comment if I could. So I don't have any problem with the fees going up, except for the adoption fee. So I would like to see the adoption fee be zero. I know there's a cost for adoption, but we want to encourage the dogs to be adopted, not put down.
Completely understand that, but that $25 covers any medical stuff that we have incurred once that animal becomes property of the county. So,
Well, I understand that there's always a cost to every service that's provided. I would want to put the cost more on the other end with the animal owner that doesn't properly take care of the pet, as opposed to the adoption. That'd be my choice. But the public hearing, I'm more than happy to have a public hearing, air this whole ordinance out for the good folks.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes, sir. So I could save most of my comments from the public hearing, but I just wanted to let Mr. Collins, I don't think that the adopted animals should be free because any family, I mean, granted, we want the animals adopted, absolutely, but I wouldn't want them going to a home. If they can't afford the adoption fee, they may not be able to afford the animal in the first place, be able to take proper care of it. So if they can afford the animal, that adoption fee isn't an understanding that it's just helping the county recoup their costs. They're not going to have a problem with that, I don't think. And overall, for the amounts of money that you identified, sir, they're still incredibly low. The $20 and $10 for holding the animal, that's really cheap, because if you go on vacation, you have to have somebody watch your animals. It's a lot more expensive than that. I mean, literally, you could like take your dog and drop it off at the pound for a week and then come back from vacation and save several $100s. I mean,
well, unfortunately, we don't do that.
thank you, sir.
Mr. Sludge, any comments on that? Ms. Bender?
Yeah, Sheriff Giles, since I have you up there, I had a concerned citizen email me over the weekend about, once again, dog barking, and we don't have anything to restrict dogs that excessively bark. Could you speak on that? No, I put you on the spot here.
Well, you're right. We have nothing that can address that, and what we do have there's a consistent bark that we have to be able to prove in order to move forward under the ordinance. So there is a nuisance ordinance that we could fall under if they can prove that it's a nuisance.
Well, I'd like to sit down and chat with you about that to see if there's anything that we could do or we need to do or just to leave it alone.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
So do we have consensus from the board for a public hearing?
So, so I think, you know, to make things clear, maybe a motion to initiate a series of ordinance amendments as proposed by Sheriff Giles to set a public hearing for said amendments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff Giles. At this point, I will turn things over to the Board of Directors, Ms. Kathy Bender.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented in the agenda packet.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion properly seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Mr. Collins?
Yay.
Mr. Solms?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Next up is a public hearing on Presidential Village Pump Station acquisition of necessary property rights. Mr. Bryce Young. And just a little background information on this. This is the last easement in the ARPA projects that we have. Spent a lot of time in due diligence trying to address this issue, but unfortunately, and Mr. Young, you can correct me on this one, but the homeowners association is non-existent. We tried every opportunity to try to get it revived or get somebody to rev it up so that we could have an agreement, and there's nobody willing to do so. This is the only course of action we can take to do that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, proceed on.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm here presenting Presidential Village Pump Station acquisition of necessary property rights. This resolution will allow the engineering department on behalf of the service authority to proceed with the acquisition of necessary real property rights through eminent domain. This property is needed to upgrade the Presidential Village Pump Station to proceed with the Perkins Corner wastewater treatment plant decommissioning. The existing easement does not supply adequate room for the needed infrastructure. This last resort process is necessary because the organization that owns this property is defunct and cannot be reasonably reinstated to grant property rights on its own. All other options have been exhausted.
Thank you, Mr. Young. One question, Mr. Stewart. I don't have any copy. Do I need to read a copy for the public hearing?
No, Madam Chair, it was online. I saw it, but I can't seem to pull it up now. But
That's my problem too, so that's why I wanted to make sure.
so the motion would just be to adopt the resolution as presented. But this actually outlines the process for those parcels that we can't seem to get an owner for. There was an appraisal, determined what the fair value of it was, and I think they will proceed with a quick take to try to get those parcels. There already is an easement there, isn't it, Bryce? But this
Yes,
isn't big
sir.
enough.
There is an existing easement. We just need additional easements surrounding the existing.
And it was a last resort because they just can't find anybody that they can deal with.
And I want to just make sure I do it right, so I'll take some questions from the board and then I'll take some public comment. Mr. Collins, do you have a question? I thought you did. Anybody have any questions? All right, Mr. Young, I'm going to take public comment on this and I'll bring you back up. Mr. Davis?
So we don't really even know who owns the property.
The property technically on paper belongs to the HOA, which has been defunct.
So who are we going to pay to? Who are we going to?
In that case, it would go to the general receiver, and it would be held until somebody claims it.
So it could just sit in escrow for years.
It could be in circuit court.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Young, the amount is about $5,700, correct? It was around that sum.
Yes,
right. Thank you. Would anybody like to give public comment on this matter of public hearing? Is there anybody online? Did anybody get any correspondence? Oh, Mr. Shaw?
James Shaw, James Monroe District. Just one general question, okay? So who pays the taxes on that property?
Mr. Smolnik, Mr. Stewart, can you answer that?
We've been asking the same question. But apparently it was never went to tax sale.
To the best of my knowledge, the land is considered public use, and I believe is tax exempt from our investigations. Correct me if anybody knows any different from that.
That is a question that now concerns me.
I'm not going to opine on what Bryce said. We've asked the same question, and that is the realm of the Commissioner of Revenue to determine what is and what is not taxed. And if people don't pay taxes, the Commissioner has the authority to either proceed with a tax sale. But at this point, we can't get anybody to deal. So this is the only way to go forward to get the necessary space to build that pump station.
Right, thank you. And this is the only easement that is left of all the easements, correct? And can you just tell the public how many easements in the last year and a half?
For this station alone, there were roughly 25, or for this project alone, there were roughly 25 easements we had to get.
And then there was a lot of work done by yourself, our consultants we were hired, and I sat in on quite a many meetings with Mr. Wasabi trying to iron out those easements. So I do thank you for your work on that and your assistance.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, Mr. Solon, do you have a question?
Yeah, actually, well, yeah, I guess it's a question. Can we get somebody to look at the agenda, the hyperlinks on this? I know when I was working on it on this past week and trying to read ahead for tonight, it took a really long time to download it. Eventually, it did come down, but in case there's somebody out there that wants to read it and know what we're talking about, I'd like for it to come down a little faster. And when I did finally get it to open up, there was nothing weird about it. I don't know why it took so long, but
Maybe it's a big file. Could be with some, no? Yeah, I don't know, just some weird quirk. So I'm going to close the public comment portion. Does any board member have any other further questions on this matter? All right. Does anyone, what is the pleasure of the board on this particular matter?
Say proceed.
Right. We do need to have a resolution approved, correct?
To adopt, the motion would be to adopt the resolution as presented.
but it hasn't really been presented yet.
Say that again?
Hasn't really been presented yet. Nobody can download it.
If you've not read it, then you couldn't make that motion. I actually read it on hard.
I've read it, but I'm concerned that a lot of the public hasn't.
Okay, so what we can do is we could bring this back and on the next agenda. Is that that's not gonna hurt any timelines, correct, Bryce?
I do not believe so.
Because I saw today where Spratt is, and they're not there yet. I know Mullins has cleared that area, but we're not there yet.
This would be the ACE contract, not the SPRAC contract.
Okay, I was thinking of the other side of the road.
Okay.
All right, so how about consensus of the board, we just move it to the next meeting and so that the public can actually read it and make public comment. All right, thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, then you would not want to close public comment. You would want to leave it open.
Okay, I'll leave public comment open and bring it over, carry it over to the next meeting. Is that fair?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
Hopefully this will be real quick. Mr. Dan Hamilton is here for his general manager's report.
Yes, ma'am. I'll try to keep it short. Again, I'm Dan Hamilton, General Manager of the King George County Service Authority. Since you all mentioned the constituents you've met with in the last few weeks, I'm just going to point out that I had the opportunity to meet with Pastor Shaw and Ms. Lovell in the last couple of weeks. And I welcome anybody at any time who's a customer or a taxpayer in the county to come and see me if you have an issue or a problem related to water or sewer. As far as my report goes, follow up on a couple things briefly from the last meeting. I have done some investigation, and it turns out that we do not use bulk water meters when we sell water at our fire hydrants. We're doing that based on estimated loads. That's something I'm going to be recommending a change for. That should help us participate in both water conservation and audit of expenses versus funding versus income when we sell water. Also, Mr. Collins, we had talked about possible funding sources for future upgrades to the water and wastewater plants. And Chair Binder forwarded me an invitation from the Virginia Department of Health for a all-day meeting in Fredericksburg, I think in the latter part of this month, and I'm going to be attending that, which is all about funding opportunities for water and sewer projects and potentially grant money as well as loan money, preferred grants. As far as the last few weeks, we fixed 2 additional water main breaks or service line breaks. One of them was at one of our well production facilities within the last week. We've also received a number of outstanding pieces of material and equipment necessary to comply with the corrective action report associated with the consent order. That would include the new UV light system, came in last Friday, and I hope to have that installed tomorrow or Thursday. We also received some equipment that's necessary for another plant upgrade, and there's been some progress on the pump station repair and upgrade over at the Burger King. I expect that to be done within the next week or so as well. So other than that, I am going to commit. I have been following up, by the way, on the Dahlgren water audit. I'll have some more information for you that's more current when we meet in 2 weeks with respect to how much water we're pumping versus how much water we're billing, what the projected loss is, and what the plan of attack is to try and identify where that discrepancy comes from. And then I also expect to prepare a 45-day report that I will have written and submitted to you by Tuesday, the 16th of September. I think that's all I have unless anybody has questions for me.
Does anybody have any questions? And Mr. Hamilton, I do thank you. I've sent you a lot of emails because every time they used to contact me, I send them Mr. Hamilton's way, including a couple of citizens' concerns about some fire hydrants, the property in Fairview Beach, and some other concerns. And I've been sending them, when I get them, I send them right over to Mr. Hamilton. So sometimes he gets sent a lot because DEQ still sends me stuff. So I thank you. Next up is the secondary public comment to address meeting items only. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person in order to afford everyone an opportunity to speak. Please provide your full name and district when submitting your public comment so that it can be properly recorded and included in the public record. Would anybody like to come up to the podium and speak on the service authority only? No? All right. Anybody online? Does anybody have any further correspondence? With that being said, I will take a motion to adjourn the board of directors.
I'll make a motion that the board of directors adjourn to Tuesday, September 16, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom of the Rivercombe Building.
Do I have a second? A motion properly seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Chair votes aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think this reading, but
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
yes.
so it's been brought to my attention that the county's website is down, and my understanding, maybe other websites that are down. So everything that is linked on for a meeting agenda is tied to the county's website. So it is inoperable at this time. So you can continue the meeting. We will not have access to any of these documents electronically. If you want to take a pause, there are some other items we could address until this, our IT learns a little bit more about this situation.
Do we want to take a pause? We think, Mr. Dines, we think this is something that we can get fixed today, or should we just move forward?
Mr. Chairman, I put a note into our support people from the Civic Plus site because it seems like a lot of their sites have gone down. So hopefully they can get back to me and fix the issue. I'm not sure how long it will take though.
It's hard to say. We next up have a public hearing, but we have no documents to go with the public hearing.
So, but is it, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
It is recorded, right? You still have video recording, right? So it will still be available on YouTube, right?
I think the only thing we need is for the public hearings, we would need to be able to present somehow up there the presentation so the public can see it.
Ms. Fish,
Then I think it's okay.
he has the ability to put that up for us.
Yeah. All these documents were online when they were posted, and so they've been available for public inspection. And as long as You can put it up there. I think that satisfies the requirements.
Yeah, Ms. Fish sent me the files, so I can put that up.
All right, let's move to public hearing 09-03. Having a public hearing, it's been properly advertised. First among the staffs will speak. Is there anyone else that's going to speak after you? Okay, then we'll have the party speak, and then we'll move to the board for any questions and then to the public for any comment. Okay, Ms. LeDuc.
Thank you, sir. This is Mr. Daniel Lester Edwards. He's representing Northern Neck Leasing Company. They've applied to rezone with proffers approximately 7 acres of land from C2 to industrial. The property is located at the intersection of State Road and James Madison Parkway and is currently being used as a legally non-conforming transportation and freight service location. The use of the property is not proposed to change, and the applicant has voluntarily proffered out several industrial uses. The property lies within the Route 301 settlement area as designated in the comprehensive plan. A major goal in this settlement area is to promote a diverse, healthy, and sustainable economy. The application was reviewed by all county and state reviewing agencies, and no one had any significant comments or concerns. There were a few comments regarding spot zoning this parcel as industrial, as it is immediately adjacent to other C2 parcels. The applicant will address this concern during his presentation, and this is also another reason for the voluntary proffers. The Planning Commission considered this application at their meeting on July 8th and voted unanimously 8-0 to forward a favorable recommendation to the board. Ordinance O-13-25 with the attached proffers is included in your packet, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Edwards.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be before everybody tonight. I brought a physical rendering of the property as it's existed for the past 50 years, just in case technology went out. So my client, Northern Neck Leasing Company, has owned 12284 State Road since 1973. And when the county zoning ordinance was enacted in 1989, it became a legal non-conforming use. Now, the comprehensive plan supports additional industrial development in areas with established industrial use. And that's what we have here with this property. We have over 50 years of established industrial use as a transportation and freight service center. Now, currently, Equipment Corporation of America is the tenant on the property. I'll refer to them as ECA. And per our February 2024 permit, they've continued to use this location for transportation and freight services. Now, ECA's lease ends in 2029, and part of our reason for moving for this rezone is to ensure that we won't need any new permits in 2029 for either ECA or any other subsequent tenant moving forward. As you see on our existing conditions plan, nothing will be physically altered as a result of the rezoning. The property is not currently on any public sewage, and it's not on public water lines. No new roads will be needed, and we do not have any impact on the traffic count. Looking more broadly to the entire 301 corridor, there's no real industrial zone. And we think that this property distinguishes itself from many other industrial parcels along 301 because it's a going concern. It's not a piece of vacant land. It's been operating as a business for over 50 years. Just in 2023, ECA's branch revenue was $10 million. And of note, in this age of technology, transportation and logistics jobs are human labor dependent. Whether it's drivers, dispatchers, or mechanics, this is the type of business that will continue to generate high-paying and local jobs for county residents. In addition, with the application, we've proffered that the property would not be used for an electricity generating facility, a junkyard, a recycling plant, resource extraction, or heavy manufacturing. What you see on this plan will remain. Looking to the county zoning ordinance, Article 1 states that the purpose of the ordinance is to encourage economic development activities that provide desirable employment and enlarge the county tax base. Secondly, Article 4 states that the intent of an industrial district zoning is to recognize industrial uses which presently exist within the county. And we believe that this site and the purpose it's being used for satisfies both Article 1 and Article 4. For these reasons, we'd move that the board adopt the unanimous favorable recommendation of the Planning Commission and adopt Ordinance O-1325 as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bender.
Yes, so this is my district and I travel past this site every day. So I've had some residents be concerned, so I'm just asking some clarifying questions so it's on record. So your parcel is right there with the building and could you point out that parcel? Right, and then you're not talking anything about the treed area across the street, because I've had some people concerned that that's where you're talking about. Okay, so I just wanted that to be clarified, that it is a site that has existed for over 50 years. You just have somebody that leases it and has some big heavy equipment there.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Collins?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So your voluntary agreement with the county was not to have those several industrial uses, but would you agree verbally to only have transportation and freight?
No, sir, we would not.
Okay. So you know, on an industrial site, you can put a data center. You can put solar. You can put all kinds of things. You can put a nuclear reactor, a small, for the electricity. So I definitely want Northern Neck Transfer to stay there and be there with a freight company, but I don't want to open it up for rezoning to other uses that, kind of bait and switch. So I would be a yes for transportation and freight, but I would not give you a blanket rezoning for industrial.
Understood. And my client's position on that is that in 1989, the parcel should have been industrial. That was its existing use for 20 years at that point. And the zoning ordinance tells the board to treat citizens reasonably. And in 1989, if we had been granted that industrial zoning reasonably, we would not have to give the proffers we do today. And we think the proffers adequately protect the county and adequately ensure that transportation freight will stay there. Now, my client's made significant capital improvements over the past 50 years to this property, including cat scales, truck driver's lounge, fuel tanks, everything that a freight transportation company wants when they're looking at a piece of industrial property. And we think these capital improvements, as well as our track record for 50 years, shows that our intent is sincere to only use this property for freight and logistics services, but our proffers are what our proffers are in this application.
So for 50 years, it's been non-conforming. So it's been allowed to operate non-conforming, and you put more money in that's non-conforming, and you'll probably put more money in that's non-conforming because it is zoned the way it is. And past zoning decisions we're not held to. I'm just asking you to make a reasonable, so I can assure the citizens that it won't become something else. If you're going to operate a transportation or freight company there like you have been, just agree to that. It's that simple. So you can agree to that, or I wouldn't vote for it because I don't want any bait and switches. We need it on paper, in writing, verbal in the meeting, so it can be looked at in the past. And if they're ever trying to make some kind of other thing, you can always come back at another time to change that. But for now, that's the way I feel. Thank you.
Mr. Stones?
Can you remind me how many acres this is?
7 acres. We believe it's very small. We don't believe a data center or a nuclear power center or anything of that sort would be placed there at any point.
I understand. I agree. That's all I got for now.
Thank you.
Mr. Stroud, do you have anything?
I'm a capitalist. I support the idea.
All right, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Collins?
he spoke to his client. His client, maybe a client wants to speak to this matter before we close the, would you accept that? If he,
Absolutely. But he also spoke to him. If he wants to speak for him, he can, either way.
It's Lester Edwards, he's the property owner.
I can assure you guys that the property will not be used as a data center. It won't be used as a solar farm. It won't be used for any nuclear sites like CEG coming in here. So if the world stays the same, it will continue in the next 50 years without my presence probably, exactly the way it has been operating. But we all know the world is very volatile now and it changes. So, I mean, I just don't envision your skepticism regarding an adverse use of the property that would affect the citizens of King George at this time. I don't see that in my imagination.
well,
I will answer any reservations that you have right now.
Mr. Chairman, so you heard what my reservation is. So my job for the next couple of months is to sit here and represent my district, even though your facility is not in my district. Do I believe you're going to do that? I do. Is the world an ever-changing place? It is. So that's why I say if you would agree to be just being like what it is, like it has been, which you already just did a minute ago verbally, by the way, but and then if the world changes, you can come forth and get a different zoning. It would already be industrial. You could just ask for a different use. So you'd be getting your change of zoning to industrial, which is a pretty big deal. The only things that I'm asking is for use. So I think that you could step that far if you wanted to.
Let's say the American dollar goes to hell in a handbasket in another year and gold goes up like it did today, $82, and it goes up $820 in the next 6 months. And all of a sudden ECA goes, they make a decision that they can't pay the rent. Now you're locking me into a freight company and a warehousing division where I might have a different tenant that can be more suitable to paying the lease payments so we can pay the county the taxes. So it's hard for me to want to keep narrowing and narrowing and narrowing the scope of my operations. I mean, nothing's going to happen that like I said, in my imagination that would change the use of the property, but I don't want to be locked into a certain use of the property.
Right. So I understand your hesitation as a businessman, but like I said, you could come back. In the meantime, you know, you understand my hesitation as a board member, and I'm not really going to get in the back and forth of this, but you know how I feel about that, and it doesn't seem to be that tough, because if you got to change to industrial, and you know what the industrial uses are in the plan, and you just had it where these uses you wouldn't do, and if you decided you wanted to do one of those uses, you just come back like you did today. I don't know how that could be so tough.
Thank you for hearing me. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, I actually have an idea here. I mean, I'm going to just say I do have a little bit of a concern with Mr. Collins because, you know, right now that area is in a technology zone. Would I like that to be reined back a little bit? Did I want to be reined not as long as it was agreed from the former board? Yes. But maybe a compromise is if your use ever changes from transportation freight, that you have to come and get a special use permit to change it. Just throwing it out there as a compromise that if it changes from transportation freight, that you would have to come, even though it would be zoned industrial, you would have to come and and do a special use permit or something. You can't do that? I was just throwing out an idea.
Mr. Chairman, I would point out that they proffered away an electric generating facility. That would be any form of SMR, small nuclear reactor, or anything like that. Junkyard, any site of any sort of heavy manufacturing, a recycling facility, or resource extraction, so you can't mine it. We did look at this at the Planning Commission, and I went through the entire table, I think with Kelly and Kenny, and maybe Matt was there too. And it would appear that they have proffered away every objectionable one under industrial that you didn't have to come back and get a special exception for. So my recollection is if you wanted to try to put a data center there, you would still have to come back to the county to get a special exception for it. And I think what we looked at were the by right uses under industrial that we thought perhaps would be objectionable. Anything else they would have to get a special exception for, so it does mean they'd have to come back again.
Could we get the buy right? You have the buy right for that, please?
The by rights in industrial construction yard, manufacturing, heavy, manufacturing, light, manufacturing, small scale, recycling facility, which they proffered out, transportation, freight services, which there's their use now, and warehousing and distribution.
Thank you.
And they did also proffer out heavy manufacturing.
So would that, I'm sorry, no,
I thought you were done. Go ahead, Mr. Collins.
so heavy manufacturing, would that be, is concrete plant heavy manufacturing?
Mr. Chairman, while Kelly's looking, I did want to tell Daniel that we do need a proper statement signed by your dad, because he actually, if he's the managing member of the leasing company.
About heavy, manufacturing, heavy. The processing and or converting of raw unfinished material and or products into articles or substances of a different character or for use for a different purpose. Uses may have significant external effects or which pose significant risks due to the involvement of explosives, radioactive materials, poisons, pesticides, herbicides, or other hazardous materials in manufacturing or other processes. Uses may include but are not limited to asphalt plants, concrete plants, lumber mills, and planing mills.
Don't run away. The question I was going to ask is for manufacturing light, the other two things, what does that entail?
Light says establishments primarily engaged in the on-site production of goods by hand manufacturing, assembly, packaging, or fabrication of materials and products within enclosed structures without significant external effects such as smoke, noise, soot, vibration, odor, and the like. Uses may include but are not limited to a machine shop, bottling, electronic equipment, ceramic products, business machines, musical instruments, furniture, medical appliances, tools or hardware, and any other product of a similar nature. Retail sales may be incidental to the manufacturing use.
Mr. Chair.
Collins.
So, given that information about manufacturing heavy and electricity generating, what is a data center? What is it? What is it? I mean, like, I know what it is, but what type of business is that called?
It's under industrial. Yep, and it's special exception.
Special exception. Okay. I think that
Miscellaneous uses, And solar too would also have to come back for special exception.
Okay. I think that you've satisfied my problematic area.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion. Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion that the board approves O-13-25, an ordinance to approve the rezoning application of Z-2025-00260 Northern Neck Leasing Company to rezone approximately 7 acres of land with voluntary proffers from C2 to industrial.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? A roll call, Mr. Stroud,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Ms. Bender,
Aye.
Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Chairman, we got on a side discussion, and if you didn't, would you please just close the public hearing to make sure? That
Yes, public hearing is officially closed. All right. So next up, we have presentation 09-04 Telecom Capital Group.
So this is a case that's coming before y'all for public hearing at your next meeting, but they're here tonight to just give you a presentation of the application at hand. And Tracy Thiemack and Mark Fisher are here as the applicants.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. Tracy Thiemack, and I'm acting as the agent tonight for Telecom Capital Group. We are proposing a new macro site, and I will take you through just a brief description of the tower and why we're here. Demand is driving this macro site. The lead carrier will be Verizon, and we are seeing across the board in all of the wireless carriers the demand that the next generations of cell phone coverage and wireless coverage are demanding. It goes up with every generation, and you can see it in this chart, the significant increases in demand. When we first started building macro sites for the 1G generation, the towers could transact with one another, interact with one another, send a signal back and forth of about 7 miles. As that technology has gotten stronger, the area into which they can hand off signal has gotten smaller. So for 2G, it's 5 miles, 3G, 3 miles, and today's 4G coverage only reaches about 1.5 miles. So these towers need to be closer and closer together, and then even further supplemented with things that you've seen like DAS cells or small cell technology. This isn't just for the wireless devices that we have on the road or in buildings. It's also to help and make more effective the Wi-Fi devices that the residents of the county have in their home. These also need cell phone towers to interact with. They need the macro sites that they can reach out to provide broadband within the home. When Telecom Capital Group goes out and looks for a potential site, they develop a search ring. So they go out and they look where the coverage is weakest, where there are gaps, dropped calls. Verizon is receiving constant information about that from customer complaints and from doing their own research. Then they look for how to get central to that that search ring. And they also look to see if there are any existing tall structures in the area, because it's obviously a lot more economically feasible to just simply co-locate for a wireless carrier to be a tenant on an existing macro site rather than create an entirely new one. In this case, the closest towers, I believe, are both owned by SBA, and we're 1.65 and 1.9 miles away, which puts them too far out of the search ring to effectuate the coverage gap correction that we need in this area. This is called a propagation map. This shows the signal and the wireless strength coverage within the area of targeted improvement. That area that you see in red and white show the least strong signals. White provides no coverage, red is barely coverage and dropped calls, yellow improves to potentially on-street coverage, and the green area is what every carrier is targeting, in-building, complete, seamless coverage without dropped calls. This is incredibly important for the residents, for those teleworking, but also for emergency service personnel in the county. They rely on being able to not only accept a call or get a caller on the phone, but also if the caller is not able to speak, to find someone purely by using their cell phone. Um, the FCC now actually has federal laws in place where wireless carriers have to demonstrate that a certain percentage of all calls can be traced by E911 services, even if somebody isn't at the end of that call to tell them exactly where they are. So building a macro site here will help achieve that goal as well for Verizon. This slide shows the desired coverage that will be effectuated when the macro site is in place. You can see that the areas previously shown in red and white are now in yellow and green. And you see those green areas extending out towards the other macro sites in the area. Again, this shows the other existing macro sites, tall structures in the area miles away. So this site will be able to reach with the green and building service about 1.5 miles, which closes a lot of the gaps both around this center of our search ring as well as some of the gaps in the areas around the existing SBA structures and other macro sites in the area. That is all I have. We wanted to give you an overview, and we look forward to having you consider this application at the next September hearing. Thank you.
I'll step in and be the chair for a moment while Ms. Bender.
So I have a question. Mr. Sullivan should know this because many times I've talked to him and other folks that I know in Claydale, Pastor Shaw. That would cover that area, right? That is notorious for cell dropping.
Yes, if it was shown in that propagation map within that search ring, that is the targeted area of improvement all around.
Because that area, I've talked to many people and everybody drops out. You can't hear them. The call drops out, and it is very vital. I mean, I know some people do not like and have fears with cell towers and that. But I do remember a couple of years ago when we had someone from the site we approved on Hudson Lane, they gave a very good explanation about how the radiation comes down from the monopoles. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Could you, because
Yeah.
people do watch us, to explain that?
Absolutely. It's really it's about geometry because I've also represented carriers on school grounds. We have that concern, especially on school grounds where you're replacing a football light stadium pole with an antenna. And essentially what happens is the higher up right in front of the antennas, in this case, 170 feet in the air, the radiation that's dangerous is right outside that antenna at that height. As the signal goes out from that tower, it drops down to where the cell phones are, and by the time it reaches the cell phones, it has gone straight out and down, which reduces the exposure limits well within the FCC's what they call maximum permissible exposure, the MPE limits. And that has got to be true. These carriers and the infrastructure providers have to demonstrate that the exposure limits for those on the ground are well within the maximum permissible limits. So basically, you're having the signal propagation and the RF emissions are the strongest right. If you were a bird hovering right in front of those antennas at the top of the center, at the 170 or 200 foot center lines, they go out and dissipate as they get down, so that by the time they're down on the ground, they're safe. Which is why I've always said if they want to put a cell phone tower at my kid's school, the safest place at a cell phone tower is essentially right at the base because you're not getting any of that radiation. I think people have to keep in mind also that the further you are from a macro site or a cell site, the more RF emissions you're getting from your phone, because the way this works is your phone has to reach out and grab that signal from a tower. And the further the tower is, the stronger the signal that is coming out of your phone, which you're keeping on your person, is. So there's a double benefit to this. It's the coverage, and it's really the reaching out of the hand from the phone and connecting with the tower.
Thank you for explaining that, so
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
those watching online.
No, it's helpful to know.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Chair. So this site is going to be St. Paul's. So the only ones getting radiation will be the Episcopals.
I'm Catholic, so I won't comment.
Thank you.
I think another thing to note that is important to the county and should be important to those living here is that you do have part of your ordinance requiring that we have a maximum or a minimum number of carriers that can co-locate on this site, to avoid what the industry refers to as the pincushion effect, where you get a lot of these towers that are just high enough for one carrier to breach the tree line and give their carrier and their subscribers a signal. This one will have, I believe it's 3 total spaces. So we'll have space available for county services and then 2 additional wireless carriers so that if they discover that they need service here, they don't have to put up an additional.
Mr. Solons.
Thank you. I got a few questions. I apologize. How tall is it overall? 170 feet?
This is 100, I think we're capped off with the lightning rod at 179. Is that? Yep. 179 includes the 4-foot lightning rod.
Okay. Have you done any coordination with the base? They do a lot of electronic warfare, a lot of stuff like that, outdoor signals. Is there going to be any interference?
We don't believe so, and we have gone through the FAA process, but we also had a representative here at the last Planning Commission meeting that was taking it back to the base because that situation arose where we wanted to confer with them and make sure. There's no interference, but we've confirmed that they get a chance to review it as well.
Okay. For your coverage map, what kind of model did you use? Does it account for terrain impacts or is it a flat earth kind of model?
Yes, I believe it does. We have, at the next meeting, we will have our RF engineer, Narendra Mangra, which will be here to discuss the specific technology he used. But yes, it accounts for terrain. And again, we have to see this when we come in, when we're looking at what the, along with like resource protection areas and what topography we're looking at, because that helps determine what height of pole we're going to need.
Yeah, that's exciting. I live in Claydale, as she mentioned, and I can only get cell signal at the top of my driveway. So, yay. Will the RF energy coming off this, is it going to affect any of the electronics in St. Paul's? Like if they're having a church service, is there going to be a loud hum or anything like that?
None at all.
Okay. And last one, why not make it look like a tree?
We have discovered that when you have something this tall, if you have an 80-foot pole that's going up, sometimes we can use fire station, flag poles. That's a good stealth option. But when you have a pole this high, when the trees are barren and don't have leaves on them, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It doesn't become as innocuous as just a steel pole. It ends up looking more like a toilet bowl brush amidst everything else on the scenery. We are doing what we call the stealth option of a graduated paint scheme here. So it will be brown most of the way up, and then when it meets the sky, it will be a light blue. So we do that to mitigate as best we can without calling out attention with something that, in my opinion, tend to look really like fake trees.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. I did watch at the Planning Commission when you presented last time, so I don't have any questions.
So you're bored. Okay.
No.
No. Great. Well, thank you.
I had to get up for a second because I was coughing, but
Oh.
I did see you. Thank you.
Great. Well, we appreciate your time, and we'll see you later this month. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have 09-05 for Action County Attorney Contract, Mr. Richard Stewart Sr.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, you all invited me to serve as your interim county attorney, and I think you want me to keep on going past interim. So this is a slight modification of the original contract with some modest increases, and largely aligns me with the other counties that I represent as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have or go into any detail, or otherwise that's it.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
So, Mr. Stewart, what will be the new rate?
For
Your service.
Retainer is $150,000 a year.
Okay.
And the litigation went from $250 to $300.
Do you realize what it used to cost us?
This will cost, just in my head,
1/10 less than what was before.
It'll be less than half. It'll be less than half than what you were paying, yes, sir.
So, and
not that I'm cheap. I don't mean to say that.
well, you're very efficient, and you get us answers to the questions immediately, and you have taken care of this board, as far as I can see, Mr. Chairman, extremely well, and protected this county extremely well, like it's never been protected before. So, if there's a motion, I'll agree to it.
Need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ratify the contract as presented in the agenda packet.
Is that satisfied?
Approve. I move that we approve the contract for the county attorney as presented in the agenda packet.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion?
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman. So the interim will come off, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No more interim.
By roll call, Mr. Stroud,
Aye.
Mr. Collins,
Aye.
Ms. Bender,
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Now is our new county attorney.
Mr. Chairman, this is another one of the multi-state opioid settlements. And this involves claims against Alvogen, Amneal, Apotex, Hikma, Imbidor, Mylan Sun, and some others. This is another one that has been negotiated nationally. The Attorney General has been involved in this for the state of Virginia. I've talked with him, and he has encouraged us and other counties to enter into it. I believe it is good for King George County, and so I would ask that you approve that resolution as presented. Funds will become available at some point. I can't tell you when and exactly how much, because this is a process, but King George will get that, much like the others, to mitigate the opioid damage that has been done to our citizens.
So moved.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? By roll call, Mr. Stroud,
Aye.
Bender,
Aye.
Mr. Collins,
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Back. All right, you're gonna talk about this right now?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, Mr. Smolnick.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So at the last meeting, the board, there was a presentation on some new software, NeoGov ADP. The board graciously approved the contract for ADP, and my staff is very excited about that. We're going through the contract right now with a fine-tooth comb. Staff very appreciative of the board's efforts. I would, however, like to make not an amendment, but a supplemental motion. We went back and looked at some of the funding for this. So right now, there was some money in the FY26 budget that was budgeted to the Human Resources operating budget. I'd like to move that to help pay for this ADP, and also request funds transferred from the capital improvement plan. I'm sorry, from the motion would be to transfer $28,000 from the HR operating budget to a newly created GL code, and then transfer $745,914. This was you just approving the 5-year price lock that I think Mr. Collins, really was adamant about to make sure we got that. That would need to be transferred from the capital improvement plan construction line to a newly created GL code, and finally to authorize the county administrator to sign the contract once myself and Mr. Stewart are pleased with the terms with ADP. So not a new motion, just a supplemental motion to what you already approved last 2 weeks ago.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Collins.
since I made the motion last time, I'll go ahead and do this one if you wish.
Yes, sir. You have it.
I have, Mr. Chair, I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors transfer $28,000 from the Human Resources operating budget to the newly created GL code and capital improvement plan for ADP transfer of $745,914 from the capital improvement plan construction line to the newly created GL code and the capital improvement plan for ADP, and to authorize the county administrator to execute the contract with ADP subject to approval as formed by the county attorney.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? By roll call, Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board. One more item. Looking for an appointment of Miss Tiffany Hayes to the Rappahannock Area Community Services Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you clarify, did you say Tiffany Hayes or Haynes?
I'm sorry, Haynes. Thank you, Tiffany Haynes.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Bender?
Yes, Mr. Small, that just reminded me of something. I do believe on the FAMPO bicycle and PED, we do have an opening. Is that correct? Or can you check? Because I have a citizen that has reached out that would like to serve on that.
I can check on that, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there's no one else, at this time, we have secondary public comment. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Please announce your full name and the district which you vote, so it be public, in the public record. Is there anyone that'd like to speak? No one online? Any correspondence? All right, public comment is closed. Need a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors adjourn until, oh, brother. I move the King George Board of Supervisors convene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2, Tag 3711.A.1 to discuss the county administrator's performance and salary.
Also invite the county administrator as needed, because he is deemed necessary under his presence will reasonably aid the board in consideration of one or more topics to be discussed pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712.f. Motion properly seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 You're in closed session. Thank you. If you're gone when we come back, thank you for being here.
Sir, I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors return to public meeting.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're back.
Move the King George County Board of Supervisors certify by vote that only matters under the call were discussed and no action was taken.
Mr. Stroud,
So certified.
Ms. Bender,
So certify.
Mr. Collins, Mr. Sullins.
So certified.
Chair so certifies.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn the Board of Supervisors Tuesday, September 16, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom of the Revercon Building.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Chair votes aye. We are adjourned.